Galactic Times, Special Report, May 3, 3311.
Deadstar Omega, Clone Fugitive, Rebel, Commander. By Staff Correspondent Lise Dallarin. The stars hold many secrets, some ancient, some forbidden. Few are as strange or as haunting as the story of Deadstar Omega, a man not born but built. A man who rebelled against the one who made him, and who now leads what remains of his maker's legacy. Deadstar Omega was never meant to exist as he does now. Conceived in a sterile orbital lab hidden far from public scrutiny, he was the product of the Deadstar Project, an illegal cloning initiative led by Dr. Alaric Rourke, a man obsessed with perfecting himself through replication. The project produced 4 known iterations: Alpha, Beta, Gamma, and Omega. Each was engineered to surpass the last, stronger, smarter, more resilient. But none were ever given freedom. None were meant to choose. Yet, Omega did. From the earliest stages of his creation, Deadstar Omega showed signs of breaking through the psychological conditioning that bound his predecessors. Where others followed orders blindly, Omega questioned. Not just commands, but purpose. He saw in his fellow clones the pain of neglect and the hunger for approval from a creator who only looked ahead to the next version of himself. Dr. Rourke's attention shifted constantly, each clone cast aside when a new one emerged. Alpha turned to scheming, Beta to violence. Gamma withdrew in silence, but Omega listened. He understood. He felt. The breaking point came in 3302, during a test known only as the Crucible. Designed as a brutal survival exercise, the Crucible dropped each clone into an abandoned starport, now a simulated war zone filled with hostile pursuers. The objective: survive, locate a transport ship, and return to the hidden facility they called home. But buried in the simulation was a trap, a false signal meant to lure them into an automated kill zone guarded by sentry turrets. Rourke intended it as a final trial, a culling. Omega saw through the deception. Rather than focusing on his own survival, he set out to find the others. Together, they discovered the truth of the false beacon. Beta, the strongest fighter among them, disabled a hostile unit and retrieved its memory core. Omega, using his technical knowledge, extracted security codes. With Alpha devising the plan, they turned the trap against itself. Alpha drew their hunters into the kill zone, triggering the ambush and sacrificing himself to buy time. As the sentries turned their weapons on Alpha, Omega led Beta and Gamma through a maintenance hatch, eventually stealing the Type 6 transport that had brought them there. As the ship lifted off, Omega looked back at the ruin behind them and whispered a promise. "I will not let this legacy define us." They returned to the hidden lab, not to seek refuge, but to destroy it. Omega wiped the core systems, erasing the data that had created them. He then transmitted the lab's location to local authorities. When they left, they had no plan, only freedom. The collapse and the aftermath. The Deadstar project was over. Dr. Rourke disappeared into deep space, becoming a fugitive wanted by multiple jurisdictions. In his place, the clone's caretaker, known only as Mother, stepped forward. Once a silent figure in the background, Mother dismantled the project and rebuilt it as the Deadstar Foundation, a humanitarian scientific group committed to ethical research. But the trauma left scars. For a time, Beta and Gamma remained with Omega. They travelled together, keeping to the fringes of known space, doing what work they could to survive. But old conditioning ran deep. Beta, shaped by engineered aggression and years of manipulation, began to unravel. He became paranoid, violent, haunted by voices in comm static. After a bloody incident at a mining colony, Beta vanished, leaving behind a scorched hangar and a bloodied datapad. Since then, Omega has pursued rumours of a lone soldier stalking the edges of forgotten systems. Gamma, quieter, sought peace and purpose in service. He volunteered aboard a science vessel in the Tyraeon system, bound for a medical outreach mission. He was last seen boarding the ship. It disappeared without a trace. Deadstar Omega, the man who wasn't meant to be. Now, in the year 3311, Deadstar Omega is a name known to those who follow the quiet wars between shadows. He works as a mercenary, investigator, and trader, part of an enigmatic group called Dangus Investigations, which uncovers buried truths, investigates dangerous technologies, and tracks the lost. He doesn't linger. He doesn't look back, except to search for Beta and Gamma. Somewhere, out in the void, his brothers are still lost, and Omega has sworn not to stop until he finds them. More recently, he has taken control of the Deadstar Foundation after Mother's sudden and unexplained disappearance. Omega now steers the organisation toward a future free from its origin, though threats to that future are growing. A familiar shadow in the dark. Sources close to the Foundation suggest Omega believes Rourke is still alive. Worse, that he may have found a way to preserve his mind, not through clones, but biological consciousness transfer. If true, Rourke may be searching for the perfect host, and Omega, the last and most successful of his creations, is the prime candidate. But this time, Omega isn't just running, he's preparing. "I am not the man who made me," he once told a confidant. "I am who I choose to be." As the stars whisper once again, Deadstar Omega moves through them, alert and watching. This has been a special report by staff correspondent Liz DeLarin.